Medical scientists and researchers are working tirelessly to investigate the link between blood clots as a side effect to the Covid-19 vaccine. This comes after 4 of 30 patients died after developing blood clots after taking the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine just over 2 weeks ago. The EU's drug regulator said Friday it is reviewing possible blood clot cases in people given the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus shot and probing a new condition linked to the AstraZeneca vaccine. Meanwhile, 4 cases, 1 fatal of rare clots with low blood platelets, were reported among those vaccinated with the Johnson & Johnson shot, the European Medicines Agency said in a statement. But why do these blood clots occur? Professor Barry Jacobson, head of Heamatology at the National Health Laboratory Services, joins us now to unpack this. Professor Jacobson, a very good morning. Thank you for joining us. That is the first question. Why the blood clots?
Good question. The answer is we don't really know. We know that COVID-19 causes blood clotting. So we have known for some time now that one of the major problems that occurs with COVID-19 is one gets clotting. And the clotting seems to be different from clotting that we normally get. So while clotting normally occurs as a result of one of 3 things, either slow blood flow or damage to the lining of the blood vessels or a change in the consistency of the blood, first described by Virchow more than 200 years, more than 150 years ago, the fact that we're getting clotting occurs now is called immunothrombosis. So it seems to be an immune response that happens with COVID-19 and causes thrombi, which occur actually in the microvasculature and not only the big vessels. So it's actually very difficult to pick up because we're so used to looking for big clots, so-called pulmonary emboli or deep vein thrombosis, that finding these microthrombi in the alveoli is actually quite difficult to find. So we do know that COVID-19 causes thrombosis. The question now arises is, are the vaccines which simulate an immune response against the COVID-19, are they causing a similar kind of event? One would think that it is quite rare for it to happen. We don't really understand it, and it's quite difficult to pick up. The difficulty that is occurring is the fact that thrombosis is probably one of the 3rd largest causes of death worldwide prior to COVID-19. So if you're vaccinating millions of people, the fact that a group of them are susceptible to clotting might just becoming more apparent by the fact that we're now investigating these patients. So the cause and relation effect is difficult to determine given the large number of people that are being vaccinated. That doesn't negate the fact that some patients might actually be getting thromboses, and we don't know those. There might be a predisposition, either genetic or caused by some people get it more than others. The true answer is until we do hard research, we don't know. I would hate the listeners out there to think that, the viewers in your case, that the thrombosis is such a risk that one shouldn't take the vaccine. I think the COVID-19 is an absolutely terrible disease. The majority of people that get it are fine, but the minority that I'm involved in treating are absolutely terrible disease, and I can't stress it strongly enough that the anti-vaccinators, because of the risk of thrombosis, should not be listened to. Even if there is a risk, we will work on trying to find ways to abrogate the risk. But I think it's vital that your viewers are cognizant of the fact that COVID-19 is a frightening disease, and that any vaccination that can help lower the prevalence and the terrible devastation caused by this condition should be taken. And one shouldn't think that, well, it's too dangerous, I might get a blood clot, I'm not going to get the vaccine. The chance of getting a blood clot is so small compared to the chance of getting the disease and being very sick in intensive care and, God forbid, dying, that the 2 equations don't really add up.
Well, statistically statistically from information that's come out, chances are technically 1 in a million that you will get this blood clot, and also that you could die from it.
Yes, it's a very, very low chance. So the risk is actually very, very low. And I do think we do need to do urgent research to try and find out if we can actually try and obviate it by trying to screen who actually gets it and try and find them and offer them prophylaxis in terms of giving them anticoagulants at the time of the vaccination, which might be a strategy that we could employ, but it's not something that we would do without doing proper clinical trials and having good, hard scientific data to back up such things, such ways of preventing the thrombosis. But I think the message should be out there that I think that we really need to tell the public is that, yes, there is a problem, but the problem in reality is so small and negligible in terms of numbers that it should not make the public want to not go and get a vaccination. I think that's the point. There's these huge number of people out there that jump on bandwagons and say, yes, you see, I told you there's horrible things and, we're all going to become silly and it's a conspiracy from the pharmaceutical industry and nations trying to force us to get vaccinations. It's all nonsense. Vaccinations work. We know that some might be better than others. We know that in our case that the J&J vaccine seems to be the best one currently. I have been vaccinated. I got side effects from the vaccination, but that was because I'd probably been previously exposed. I had myself COVID-19 last year and was desperately sick from it. So, because I work on the front line, and I think that the public out there should be aware that the vaccines, when they come, and hopefully they'll come very soon for the majority of our population, they're a very good thing, and they should not be taken lightly. And my plea out there is to make quite sure that people don't jump on the bandwagon with this clotting thing and say, no, we're not going to be vaccinated.
Absolutely.
They need to understand that the vaccines are
You talk about side effects of the vaccine. Would you care to tell us what you went through post your vaccine?
Well, yeah, I must be honest, I was very sick with it. And my daughter was going down to raise in Cape Town. I was too sick to travel with her. I felt like I had COVID-19 all over again. I had temperature, sweating, short of breath, and I was sick for 3 days, and then it passed. And a lot of our doctors, healthcare practitioners who've had it, have also had similar side effects. But the majority of people had no side effects. My staff, we were doing some trials actually on COVID-19, and I'd like to maybe speak to that if you have a chance. We're actually doing a trial currently for patients who have COVID-19 who are managed at home, giving them anticoagulant or nothing, because we don't have hard data. So the problem is that a lot of the general practitioners or doctors out there, because of the risk of thrombosis, are giving the people medication, and we need hard data. So we're desperately trying to do the study, and if your viewers out there are interested, they can contact you can put up my email address for them to contact us. That we are looking for patients who are managed at home with COVID-19, and we are comparing high-risk individuals to getting low-molecular heparin, so-called Clexane, or nothing. And so we can develop, and it's a worldwide study, and we're part of the team that was doing it. And we would like to get enough patients to then actually answer the question, because we don't want to be in the same position we were with hydroxychloroquine, where everyone said you must take it, and then it turned out to be actually bad. So we need a hard scientific data by doing a controlled randomized study to show whether the medication works. And so we would like to appeal to actually all your viewers out there that if they know people that are being managed at home, to get their doctors or themselves to contact us, and we will supply the drug free of charge and randomize those patients to get the drug or not get the drug and see whether it works. And that will also help us helping decide for patients even going for vaccinations whether they would require it, if we can look at a subset of patients who we believe might be at risk. But at this point, we don't believe that everyone should be vaccinated, and it should be done as soon as possible.
Professor, it's just the two vaccines that seem to be singled out, and as far as the blood clots are concerned, the AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson?
I think that it's probably not really fair. They probably really haven't looked at it because the pathogenesis of the thrombosis looks like it's an immune thrombosis, which suggests that the virus causes an immune response and one is getting that. And then by the vaccination process, you would probably be getting it across all the vaccines. And I think it's limited to one vaccine. I think if you're developing a strong antibody response, there are going to be a small group of people that are going to be at risk. And the trick is going to try and find out which group, from a scientific point of view, would benefit from giving thromboprophylaxis. And that's the question. So it's unlikely. I mean, it might be, but I think it's unlikely, given the pathogenesis of why we're getting these clots, that it'll be limited to a single vaccine. Maybe one is more immunogenic in that area than the other, but we don't really know. But I would assume that it's going to be across the board, if it truly is. But also we need to try and work out the numbers. Is it not the people who would anyway have got a clot, because by virtue of it being a common disease, versus being caused by the vaccine? But there is definitely a plausible scientific reason why one might get a thrombosis with this particular kind of vaccination, given the fact that COVID-19, very unusual disease causing this immune clotting.
Professor, thank you kindly for your time. That was Professor Barry Jacobson, Head of Hematology at the National Health Laboratory Services.